Have you been appointed by the board to be the prosecutor in the compliance committee?
I'm the compliance committee staff liaison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you get there? Did the board appoint?
Yeah, well, you guys appoint everybody at that April meeting.
Last April?
Yeah, when you assign committees. I'm
So you were
the
named?
compliance committee staff. I believe so. Hold on, let me. Yeah, well, yeah, okay.
Okay, right there.
And you have, if you get my email this morning, that's.
Yes. Bring that up at all?
Nope.
Thank you.
Hey gang, it's 1:30. Let's call the meeting to order. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum? You do. At this point, I'm going to ask the compliance committee to convene in that back area behind that divider. And just for the board's edification, Cezanne is going to act as prosecutor. Sounds like a tough term, but that's the official term, and she'll represent the board in the compliance meeting. Just as a reminder, the committee can adopt the board's fine. It can deny the fine, or it can render a verdict somewhere in between. So depending on how this goes, we'll see how it plays out. Any person has an option to speak at the meeting. So let's see what happens. With that, Jim Moxley, please take your committee into that back area and convene the meeting. Yes, any homeowner that wishes to speak in front of this committee, please enter now. Okay, do we have any members speaking today? No members speaking, so let's move into Secretary's report. Lucy?
Forward to the 29th of January 23rd, 2025.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, President's report, I just gave it. So General Manager's, report, Mark?
Actually have an audience today. This is one of the few times during the year we actually have, you know, I think last month we had 4 people. Anyhow, the board has my report and it will be online, under the, minutes once approved and, it's just once again, we are streaming live on YouTube right now, so for those individuals who wanna kick back with whatever beverage they need to get through 3 hours of stuff later on today, I wish them well. It's mid-season and I know that most of you all feel and see the traffic, the parking crunch, the busy tennis courts, bocce players, and of course the new pickleball courts. Main pool deck is packed up and events are all busy with people enjoying the Sterling Oaks hours. Please be courteous, drive slow, stop when asked, make reservations and court times in advance. Most importantly, enjoy yourself. I've got some quotes for seal coating and restriping all of the main roads throughout the community. This does not include the carports or parking spots for the various sub-associations. This should be done after season, but before the rains. The cost range though, from $187,000 to $192,000. I have quotes attached. It may be best to break this up and do it in 2 to 3 phases. It's a reserved expense. For those of you that have been here over the years that we've done this seal coating, it's a logistical nightmare and pain for all of those people that have to be here, especially in the condominiums. Just because the roads are closed off on one side for 24 hours, and then closed off on the other side for 24 hours. So if you're coming and going, you have to be able to find a place to park, and it's a real monster. So, I'd like the board, at least, or John, with treasurer, to take a look at this. We can look at the more needed roads from a seal coating standpoint to get those done. I know that the companies that are here, we've used them in the past. Bain Seal Coat, I think, did it probably 3 or 4 years or more ago, when they did a lot of the main roads as well. So, I think that's something we can discuss. Some of the other items that are slated for replacement this year include the fitness flooring down below. Fitness project team will probably be managing that recommendation. We have 2 tennis courts that are slated, whether or not that they need to be taken care of, but we will get some quotes for them. The AC system for the dining and bar area is slated to be replaced. Note that the bar area compressor and its air handler are fairly old. I think they're in the 10-year range, and they're slated to get redone. We've had a lot of repairs necessary on those. It's starting to get more expensive to fix than it is to probably replace over time. Some of the older kitchen equipment, the stuff, we have more heat sidewalks that we'll probably be looking at. You'll see the red or orange stripes on the sidewalks where the heaves are around the roots, and you know, seems like it only takes 1 year for the oak trees to heave the sidewalks up again, but we're going to be taking a look at those. Chaise lounges and umbrellas to finish up the pool deck with matching furniture. We've included the quote for those in this as well. The street signs out there on the roadway, if you'll walk around, you know that there's numerous amounts of street signs. The bright green with the stop signs, the yield signs, the street signs, all are starting to show signs of wear and tear from the landscaping down at the bottom. Those that need to really be painted all have a orange tape around them. And the company that installed those, NGS, they also were the ones that installed all the mailboxes here in the community for the single family homes. Has given us a quote to come in, sand them all down in those areas, electrostatically repaint them with automotive paint. In the past, we've tried sanding them ourselves with a with a grinder and then using a brush, and, it doesn't work at all. They use a sand blaster to really take it down and do them right, so that's, it's a fairly lengthy process, but it works great, and they've lasted us for the past 10 years. And also across the street, the sign that says Sweetwater Lane, which is supposed to say Sweetwater Cove, will be changed out. And for 10 years, it's been a long time. The landscaping committee will also be asking, for, changing the neighborhood sign on the green post and panel to more of a monument style. We're probably going to be working with a landscaping company and the company that, to give us some more, ideas on what those monument signs might look like, also get some posting panel. Posting panel mean the green sign that across the street that says Sweetwater Bay, it's got 2 posts and a green panel with white lettering. That's posting panel. Monument signs are like what's at the front entrance, and also the ones for Wildcat Cove, Deer Creek, and Preserve. So the landscaping committee is looking into whether or not we should have similar signs for all of the communities so that we have some consistency. The remainder of the tennis furniture that was ordered last year, the tables and everything have all been put in place. So, under the tennis shelters, everything is new. Irrigation schedules, I think it was either last meeting or the meeting before, we talked about the irrigation situation. So just as a reminder, the irrigation assessment that you all paid for was for the control of the various irrigation areas within the community, whether it was your front backyard, whether or not it was your condominium surround, whether or not it was on the main road areas or in the back of the clubhouse or out front here. Those all have zones. They all have a master valve that controls those and turns them on, and the wiring and the components that were put in during this project were specific to make sure that the watering for a certain area, and we'll just say the condominiums, and we'll start over here in the corner at 1380 or 90, comes on at maybe 8 o'clock at night. It runs for 20 minutes around the building, clicks off. It goes to the next 1370, does the same thing, 1360, 50, da, 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 da. What that does is it makes sure that the pump is running continuously. It also makes sure that the water that is going out is the same, and it's calibrated so that there's not more flow or less flow. It has the timing schedules, and what I'm trying to get to is making sure that the community, Sands, Deer Creek with potable water, and Sanctuary Point, have a consistent timing. And the second thing is that if you need to know, when does my water come on? So you're living in Manatee, and I'm at 1267, Silver Strand Drive. I haven't seen any water coming on. I'll be able to go into the system, go through the steps, go to the actual valve that controls 1267, and maybe it controls 2 or 3 houses on either side, and I can say that that house comes on at X on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 3 a.m. and runs for 20 minutes. But that's what this system provides us. The one thing that I'm starting to see, which is what we hope for, is I have not had any mainline breaks, which those of you who've been around that know the mainline break, it means that you see the guy with just his hat sticking out of the hole and him down there digging and replacing, and those 4-inch PVC water pipes down below the ground about 4 to 6 feet. And those are very expensive to replace and repair. I have not seen any of those repairs since we have started moving through this system, which means that the water flows are doing their job and we're not seeing the problems that we had in the past. So we're looking forward to a reduction in the actual cost of irrigation repair over time. The other miscellaneous projects that we're kind of doing on, were camera replacements for certain areas out there that have needed to be done, especially on the tennis courts. We had to redo some of the back gates, so that we can keep an eye on that. Gate mechanical issues. The gates open and close somewhere around 7,000 to 8,000 times in a day. If you can wrap your arms around that, those gate arms doing this, it's insane. So, the wear out and the problems that we have on a repair basis, during season we've been busy trying to take care of those. Street light repairs, we're making sure those, we had a couple flashing lights like out at the front entrance, we had to get a lift for. We've had various street lights here and there that need to be redone. Wildcat pool pump, which is fairly aged, that's the same one that runs your pool pump, but it's in a larger scale. Has to have some repairs, we've been working on that as well. Some of the, I hate to be anecdotal, but I might as well take my time here. The Wildcat Cove pool is a neighborhood pool paid for by their association through their reserves. It has been there since 1996 or 7. It's been refinished, but it is aged and it requires care and maintenance. And just let you know that we have been working on those items down there for quite a while. We're gonna take a look and see if we can get the pool pump house painted on the exterior and the interior. I think probably the next year, I'd like to do some minimal upgrades to the interior of those restrooms for the residents as well. We have new fans that went in under the shade shelter to replace those. They were kind of rusting out. Nothing lasts for very long in this environment. And last, we have a lot of landscape lighting that we're replacing as well. Please,
Any questions of Mark?
Questions or comments? Two, when you talk about reserves, first of all, when you talk about the Wildcat pool and everything, the reserves, they have their own special reserves that they only put into. So the rest of us, the other 600 people are not paying for their pool. Everybody understands that. And the second one, Mark, you kept talking about items are slated for in reserves for this year. If they're not needed, we don't do it. And if they're needed early, we do it. We have almost $9 million of items in reserves, each slated for throughout the next 30 years. But if they're not needed, we push it back to next year. I want to make sure everybody understands that. Like the one he was talking about, the air conditioning, we keep on making repairs. That makes sense to replace it because it's costing more money than to do.
Any other questions of Mark? So go ahead.
Just on the seal coating, when's the last time we did it?
the seal coating was done over in a period of phases. I think that, for instance, there was portions of the condominiums that were done. Then we did Manatee, Silverstrand, then we might have done the main roadway down the back gate. Then we did Wildcat Cove, I think, fairly recently. So, because we repaved and put in the asphalt. So they've kind of been like this. They're usually on a 3 to 4 year rotational schedule. My personal opinion is I think that there are certain areas that look like they need it more than others, and that would be the roads in the condominiums, for instance. They probably need that, and maybe a couple others in the middle. But that's my opinion. So I think that's why I kind of asked if we could maybe take a look at minimizing the overall cost, and I think that the reserve study only holds somewhere close to 178,000 or so to do the seal coating.
The last seal coating was not as good as the previous one.
Correct. I agree with you.
So we need we need an action item here for 3 things. Is that correct, Mark?
That is in there. I'm looking at the action items under my report is roadway seal coating, which you can either talk about and table, until the finance committee has a better understanding or has an idea of what they would like to do because of the money.
John Mulligan, what's your recommendation?
We'll take a look at it and see look at it, the, proposals and different areas that need, and we'll come up with based on what we have in.
All right, so
reserve.
no action today. Okay, how about,
Pool furniture.
pool furniture?
So Pool Furniture, the company that has given us the tennis chairs and tables, and also the original, the newer white, with bronze chases, and the umbrellas with the pulleys has given us another,
Is money for this under reserves or
Yes.
capital?
it's under.
In reserves, we have $44,000 in reserve.
We received the quote, but then we also received, because of the nature of the world we live in today, that tariffs are in place and that we could see an increase in costs for aluminum, which these frames are made out of. Of course, we know where all the aluminum comes from these days, our neighbors from the north. So I asked John, you may want to bump this up so we can get in underneath that tariff increase, so that's why I put it on there.
Mark, would this replace all of the old furniture now and then, and would be the full cycle?
This is 30, which will do it a huge dent in what we have out
Just
there.
be a little bit left of the
Just
old
a
stuff.
few left here, but
Okay.
everything out, and the rest of it would be.
Emily Wood Cap was here for this,
Yeah.
that's all I can
No,
tell. It was Cap.
but it'll be matching, which is what we're.
Yeah, yeah.
We're moving.
I just didn't know if it was gonna complete it or not.
Yeah. Here,
All right, I need a motion,
I made the motion. that we-
okay, I have a second, Ken. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mark, next action item.
the next thing is the street signs, to get them redone. Do I feel that it is the most important thing that we need to do? No. Do I feel that the longer we wait, the more expensive it's going to be to do? I think we have 84 signs in the community that need to be done. Just walking down the hill and just, into the sanctuary, and into Sweetwater, you've got one in the corner, you got a stop sign, you got a yield sign, you got another stop sign, you got another sign down there, there's 4, 5, or 6, just as you move down through 1400 down to 1320. And then you've got a couple at the other side, and then around, so you kind of start to thinking about it, and you go, wow, there actually is quite a few signs within the community. And those have all got the rusted out bolts on top, which may be replaced with stainless, and also the bottoms. Repaint.
Do we have money in reserve for this, or is it capital?
No, this would be a reserve item because it linked the asset life of those posts, which we do have that in the reserves. I don't know if that painting specifically from a maintenance standpoint is categorized as.
Okay, let's put this on the table with a motion. So somebody, please contribute.
How much are we talking? So do I have that?
And should be on the back page there.
It's just the sign. Not the.
No, just, there's no monuments, but this has to do with just the street sign. I think you're talking right around 30 grand.
35?
Yeah.
Let's get a motion on the table and have it seconded, then we can talk about
I make a motion that we approve the proposal in our package for the painting and marketing stuff.
it. Okay, I need a second. Have a second. Okay, now we can discuss it. Any further questions?
Mark, it won't be the street lights because they're so black, right?
That's the question, yes, and so there was a question is, well, why don't we paint them all black?
Or paint them all green.
But if you paint them all black, you're gonna have to do something with the green and white signs that say Shadow Tree or Sanctuary Point or, you know, and on, you'd have to change those all to
This doesn't
black and
include
white.
that. This doesn't include.
No, it goes to take green and make sure all of those are redone. And I think they're actually gonna replace the signs that are faded out in each of those. The tops there for, you know, Sterling Oaks Drive, Shadow Tree Drive, Silver Strand Drive, you know.
Okay.
Do we have any other quotes? That's just the one quote.
That's the problem that I ran into since this is the company that built them and put them in, and then I went out to try to find electrostatic sign painting companies. I found another company, but I found out that the Likens Signs, which is their competitor, Tony Likens, sold the company and actually went to work for this one. So I kind of said, well, you know, you guys doing that? And he goes, I wouldn't use those people. So, and I wasn't able to really get much out of it because we had a tip with him because after he had left, we were also dealing, if any of you remember, the monument sign at the front and the stack stone on the side, and how they're trying to get it replaced, and they wouldn't do their job. So that's why I said no. I'd rather stick with the original purveyor, make sure everything's exactly the same, the paint color's the same, and then they can take care of the actual street signs. Because if I have somebody else come in, they'd have to figure out how to make those street signs as well, and I don't know who does that.
I would encourage approval of this motion. We're 30 years old now. Let's not have this community look like it's 40 years old.
Like $400 a sign. I think we're ready to go.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Treasurer's report. John?
All right. For the end of the year 2024, we had operating cash of $678,000, total cash almost 1.8 million. In the month of December, we had net income of minus $72,000 versus a budget of plus $4,000 for an unfavorable variance of $76,000. Tennis is right on budget for the month and finished the year with net income of $117,000, a favorable variance to budget of $18,000. There was $3,000 expenditures coming from reserve in December and $214,000 for the year. Solskjaer had an unfavorable variance to budget for the month of $4,000 and has a year-to-date favorable variance to budget of $20,000. Common areas had an unfavorable variance for the month of $28,000. This is mainly made up of preserve maintenance being over budget and timing of expenses. The year-to-date unfavorable variance in common areas is $32,000. G&A had an unfavorable variance to budget for the month of $35,000. This is made up of lower capital contribution income, higher legal fees than budgeted, and timing of capital improvement expenses. The year-to-date unfavorable variance to budget is $89,000. Like pretty much the whole year, we had pluses and minuses, but the main driver of the unfavorable variance is lower than capital contribution income. That accounted $84,000 under budget. The year-to-date net income as of 12/31 is $170,000 versus a budget of $75,000, negative $75,000, for an unfavorable variance of $95,000. While there are several accounts that were over and under budget, the $170,000 loss is pretty much made of three items. We budgeted for a $75,000 deficit for cash reduction, $89,000 due to lower than capital contribution income, and $37,000 of hurricane expense. Like with any HOA, municipality, or business, you're gonna have the up and down years. 2024 is not our best year. But because we had such a strong balance sheet, we were able to handle it and we remain strong. Yes, sir.
Just anecdotally, I went to my local communities that I'm on an email group with. There's about 40 communities that I deal with almost on a daily basis for questions. One of the questions that came through was, how are your home sales? Home sales in all of the communities that I talked to are down across the board. And one of those, like for instance, in Worthington, Carol Ann over there, she goes, I don't know what's going on, but I've got 55 units for sale in Worthington. Now, that's, you know, we're usually around 8%. I think we have 33 right now, 35 right now. So, which is a lot larger, but we're not alone. Whatever in the market is going on, it's not, we're not alone in that, at all. So, there are a lot of homes for sale throughout the, southwest border, probably everywhere else, so.
And the homes are holding their value, that's the important thing.
I can only tell you one other little small anecdotal thing, and that's something that we have to be very happy with, and that's that we have 2-story condominiums. All those that have 3-story condominiums or above are subject to the new House bill laws in Florida that require them to have structural integrity reserve analysis. And regardless of whether or not they waive their reserves or not, all reserves have to be completely paid for this year to make sure that they have their structural integrity. Not only do they have to pay for the analysis, but they have to do that. You can only imagine the condominiums and the high rises that are throughout everywhere. I understand that over in Miami-Dade, the average assessment, not hurricane damage, just from this one bill, the average assessment for any condominium owner over there, regardless of its size or where it sits, is anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 per unit. So that's why we're very happy with the 2-story condos. So for us to be a community like that, I think it speaks volumes towards how good we really have it here. So that's just another anecdote.
Hey, John, delinquent accounts?
They have paid up, so we don't have to send anybody to collection.
Oh, good news,
Good job.
good news.
Did you visit them?
Uncle
I can
Louis.
tell you that the office staff, really, we've been working very hard with some of these people to try to make sure they understand what's going on so that, and help them, with partial payments and et cetera, to work with them so that they've taken care of it.
Okay, committee reports, project teams, let's go to activities. Lynn?
Past events, Sterling Oak residents and members enjoyed some wonderful pool parties with food and entertainment, a pickleball event, our first of a series of 3 concerts, a fashion show aboard the Naples Princess, Tuesday pub night, Friday dining with music, 2 aging well presentations, and a new format for trivia, which was really enjoyed in another trivia event will be scheduled. Also a men's night out. Looking ahead, Friday dining at the club with music are February 28th and every Friday in March. Sunday, the 2nd, March 2nd is a pool party with music. Monday the 3rd is our second concert, a tribute to Bon Jovi and Journey. Wednesday the 5th is the Legacy main event at the club or Dirt Station, a live and silent auction with John Hemmerly as our auctioneer. A mix and mingle with student scholarship recipients and help celebrate with the many volunteers and supporters who have made this another successful year. All donations are needed and appreciated, and many have been made. Come and join in the lively bidding, and it all starts at 5 o'clock. Thursday, the 13th of March, is the Dazzling Bell Race with a show-stopping performance. Last concert. Monday the 17th, top of the morning to you. Enjoy the buffet, the music, and hopefully some good Irish songs. Tuesday the 18th, cornhole on the back lawn. Sunday the 23rd is a pool party with music. Thursday the 27th is bocce playoffs and luncheon. Yoga and water aerobics continue. The cabana is open 7 days a week. I have a few additions. Pub nights are Tuesday nights. A couple of things are the pickleball clinic is the seventh at 11 a.m. The 8th is a pool party with music. The 9th is a pool party with drinks and music sponsored by the Manchester Real Estate Group to thank the community for their support. It includes complimentary Stella drafts with an S and a drink of the day or drink with an S of the day. Complimentary. The 11th, book club, 1 o'clock at the club. The book is The Sentence by Louise. That's the last name. Bertram. I don't have it. What is it? Bertram.
BRDRICH, Bertram.
Bertram?
Louise Bertram.
Thank you. Somebody must have called just when I was writing this. The 13th, multi-purpose room is closed. There's a lot going on that day. The 19th, motor coach to Miami open tennis tournament for tennis people, if anybody who wants to know. It includes breakfast, refreshments, and snacks from the bus, and tickets to the open. The 20th is the annual meeting of the members. Thank you.
Okay, any questions of Linda? If not, let's go to architectural standards. Rick?
Request has been submitted to review the modification review approval process. A little background there. The ASC members endeavor to review outstanding modification requests in a timely fashion, but there are some of the things that we believe we need to tighten up the review process. Therefore, the ASC recommends the board to approve modifications that are standard and or have approved pallets. They be approved by the ASC staff liaison. Examples of such requests could be house painting, paver installation, hurricane shutter installation, roof replacement. For other projects such as tree removal, pool installation, or any other significant modifications, comprehensive review by the Architectural Standards Committee will be conducted. Mike,
I second.
Discussion.
Okay. Let's have some discussion.
Just, to make sure that we were on the right path and that legally we were able to allow staff, to make these decisions on the Architectural Standards Committee's behalf. We went to our attorney to take a look at our documents to make sure that the, board can appoint a manager, or liaison to work with the ASC to take care of these, requests. And, I'll just let you know that those of you that have done requests, especially if you've done them, you get the standard. It can take up to 40 days for you to get, approval. And if you're doing it in June, July, August, or September, it's gonna be tough simply because people coming and going. So what Suzanne talked about and wanted to get together, and I concurred, is that for simple, run-of-the-mill, requests or modifications, it would be best if we could sign off on those and make sure that the ASC committee would receive all of the necessary information so that they would have a running report about it, and that anything that was off the norm or really required the inspection of the committee, that they would still be able to do that. But it streamlined the process for many of the homeowners here who simply just want to put in a paver driveway, get their roof replaced, or paint their house, or put hurricane shutters on. So that, that would happen, but we wanted to make sure that we were blessed by our attorney before we did that, and we were.
So I was the one who initiated this, because I think the process is very, labored. So a couple of other things, which, does the process went from a manual process to an electronic process? So when, because 40 days is still an unusual amount of time for someone to approve a request, just to approve the request. So with knowing that these ones are going to be signed off by, and can we work to shrink the 40 days to something shorter? The people who are in season here for 40.
I think so. I think the 40, that's the way it's written, it's 40, but I don't think they have to take 40.
I know, but we should clean that up as well, because people who are here only for 4 months, 40 days is a long time. Because it could happen. So I think the next step, for, 2 electronic submissions and not everybody's feeling free to. I think it's for.
Who seconded that motion?
I received it.
Another discussion.
So what Cezanne or whoever, Mark or whoever would, these are all things already been approved by the board as colors and
Right, yeah.
everything's
These
legitimate.
are cut and dry, there's not a lot of variance, and we're talking about people doing an addition, some of those things involve a lot of measurements and variance and so that nature.
And you guys will get a report monthly to make sure they're not overstepping their boundaries or do whatever.
Fine. I know people are impatient, but I will assure you, these guys are doing their job, really, they're in there all the time.
All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Number 2, holiday decorations. The AAC would like to recommend the board of directors to amend the rules and regulations to include that holiday decorations must be removed within 20 days of post-holiday. What is it currently? There's some people that.
I don't know if we have a timestamp, actually, right?
I don't think it doesn't exist.
I don't know if it, and that exists at all. It's, we find that some people are leaving them up for like a month. Well, maybe they're in the spirit. That's 20 days is from Christmas. 15.
Kind of religious thing. 15th of January.
That's the motion.
Go 12 days at least.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Steve seconds. Let's, any further discussion?
So why did this come up, or how did it come up, or we have people complaining,
We
or
had-
people?
We had a member that.
Oh,
I don't know if it's, you know, it's not the.
So it's not a huge
It's
issue.
not earth shaking, right? I
Not a
mean,
huge
It's a common concern across all HOAs.
But is there, Mark, do other ones have anything like
Almost
this?
everybody else has specific, you can leave your holiday decorations up for X, whether it's 3 weeks past or so many days past or whatever, but you can't leave up your Christmas lights or having hanging Christmas balls on your tree out front for, you know, in July and on for, same with some of the other Halloween decorations, et cetera, et cetera. So they usually do put a time limit, you know, whether it's 3 weeks or, you know, but I don't think.
I'm not sure if it's a safety issue, it's more of a cosmetic.
It's all cosmetic, just so that, yeah, things get cosmetically, so that you don't have somebody with a bright Christmas lights on.
Well, why do we even talk about it? Just because one person mentioned it? I think it's not an issue personally.
After you, so.
Calendar days.
When the lights go up and come down.
Ours go up, well, I mean, they start installs in at Thanksgiving, and then ours are down post, New Year's Eve, I think we have this place ready to go. You know, that we're ready, or October, you know, it comes down. We don't ever do that.
I'm gonna make a comment and go to Kent Swallow, but, you're saying holiday, and it's not specifically Christmas, it's
No.
holiday, because we could have crazy things going on at St. Patrick's Day, so. Ken,
I got a question on, you know, we have a hard time controlling shutters.
And when they come down, in fact, there's still some up in the.
Yes.
Community. The question I've got is how are we gonna police this? Any more than we can police the shutters?
Well, we know the shutters are in violation, in fact, they'll be probably, or being talked about in there, especially like the corner. Corner of,
The committee goes through the community pretty regularly. It's not like you're gonna see 10 people in prison fights up there. One is two. Yeah. So again, you know, it's not earth shaking. I understand that we brought it forward because there was a request.
As I mentioned earlier, this is the concern among many HOAs. So we may or may not have a problem right now, but if we don't have anything in our documents, we're susceptible to conflict. I would recommend that we move on this once there's significant.
Do you want to modify that, amend that motion to say that, within 20 calendar days of the holiday?
Well, yeah, we can do that.
20 calendar?
Calendar.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion. John? Opposed? Hogan opposed. Motion carries.
Number 3, real estate signage. Some of you probably have noticed that there are some unusual real estate, not unusual, but atypical real estate signs here that don't match most of the traditional signs that are mounted on the houses with the Sterling Oaks logo. The board requested the ASC to discuss and submit a recommendation for real estate signage. The ASC would like to recommend for the board to modify the rules and regulations to state that the approved for sale sign must be affixed to the unit, and yard signs are not permitted. Additionally, the handout flyer boxes, that you might see, brochures are not permitted. We don't need those out there. I mean, everything's available online. You can get it on your phone, so it's kind of ridiculous about those. I'm sorry, the brochure holders on the phone.
I need a second. Lucy seconds. Let's have discussion.
Yes, one thing I have a question, why or how did this come up? I mean, these signs are all around America, maybe all around the world. Southwest Florida, they have these all around, you know, in Pelican Bay, which is a lot bigger and more expensive. This place has them in their yards. I'm just curious why or how this came up.
I think they wanted consistency with the signs that are there, the ones that you have. Whatever the realtor is using, has the Sterling Oaks logo, so it's more about it. Consistent, more or less a branding type of issue. The other kind of signs, I've seen 2 or 3 of them, that one in Deer Creek is gone now, house closed, I believe. But there's that other type of sign, they're not uniform, different, so it's more consistency.
And there's a tendency to spread them throughout the community, common areas as well as the item for sale. It gets messy.
I think when you use the Sterling Oaks logo sign, which we've always used, it's like an approved sign showing. And it's consistent, and I think it should be on the building, in some way, either on the building
Most of them
or
are.
in the window. If you've got a coach home where your parking blocks it, or your carport blocks it, put it up, if it's an upstairs condo or something. But, they're very messy looking, and if the wind blows and knocks them over, they're laying in the yard, if the owner isn't there.
You gotta mow around them.
And then sometimes the landscapers will take them off, mow around and leave them on the ground.
And this has been a practice in Sterling Oaks for well over 20 years, so it's not shocking to the community. They certainly can accept it. I would recommend it. Any other discussion?
When you say affixed to the building, is that affixed to the carport?
We prefer the home.
Usually it's on the next to the garage.
All the carports are covering up all the condos.
The unit itself.
And some have been on the carport, if there's no other way to show it, like a downstairs.
So would that be allowed?
Well, the building is over 5 foot, 35 years old.
Yeah. You know, 95% of them right now are still. 3 or 4 of them there and with different looks.
Yeah, they're getting
And-
bigger and.
And Greg was going to order a new sign. He said, why can't I have a sign like that? I said, he was ready to order.
He was already ordering posts to
He
me.
spent a lot more money on the other signs if you look for the ones that are.
I know. I said, don't order them. Telling you.
Any other discussion?
Who pays for the sign that goes on the building, is that?
The realtor.
Realtor does.
Realtors.
So every realtor then would have to design and have a sign made just for that realtor.
No, just for Sterling over.
Yeah, but I mean, just for Sterling.
And when they have for 20 years. And they're cheap. I mean, they're like $40.
Yeah, any of the local sign companies surrounding us anywhere here, if you go in and start them open.
They don't Sterling.
They'll go can green, do 16 by 20 or whatever it is. They got them all in there for the years that we've been doing.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Rick.
Oh, I have a question for Rick. Oh, sorry.
And we have a
Okay, go ahead.
ASC violations, the outstanding violations have been sent, at least 2 violation notices. Motion to impose a fine of $100 per day for each outstanding violation for up to 10 days. Additionally, contract the association to address and correct these violations effective as of the date of the compliance committee hearing, which is tentatively scheduled for March 20th, next board meeting. They are 1515 Serenity Circle with trim, 1550 Serenity Circle fascia, 14899 Sterling Oaks Drive trim, and 1322 Silver Strand Drive hurricane shutters.
Second.
any discussion?
When you say trim, what does that mean? Is it the painting or mold, or what is that trim? mean?
Either one, yeah,
And they've gotten 2 notices,
gotten 2.
3?
Times 3.
Okay, so they've been, and have they just not responded at all, or tell us to go to hell, or what?
Either or.
Pretty much all of that.
Yeah. Some just not left them, some both.
All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Rick. Let's go to, did you have a question?
We do. Well, it's not a question really. It's something I want people to consider. In the condos and the coach homes, we find that everybody is sort of nickeling and diming us, including our property managers, air conditioning companies, fire companies. I don't care what it is, our costs keep going up and up because of it. So I've run into a problem just really this year has been the worst. Apparently, when people buy in the condos, they don't really understand the rules between the condo association and the master. So they think there's this architectural standards committee and these forms they have to fill out when they do anything. So the other day I find out that somebody called and said they wanted these forms to fill out for, to replace a washer dryer. So they wrote to you, they wrote to Mark, they wrote to other people. And I jumped in on the lot and I said, you don't need it for that. You do not need to do this form. And I wasn't doing it to stick my nose in that I was doing it because every time Cambridge does a form for us, it's $50. And every time they work on this form the second time, it's another 50. And so, and I find that people are charging ridiculous things to do extra things at the condos that are not necessary. It's not in our dock, it's not in your dock. And somehow we've got to, when they call the office and say, we need architectural ones to do this or that, they don't realize it's just when you have to pull permits and things. And somebody in the office needs to tell them, no, you don't need a form for that. Because if they send that form over to advance, our bills go up. And so we've got to find a way, that's a lot of people in the condos and coach homes. If every time they do some little thing,
Yeah, we all know that, Laura knows that too. We have a lot of people that come in and just ask, what I'm going to do, I need a modification, and Laura will say, that you can get that online, or you can do what's it's for. Well, I'm going to be replacing, a water heater, and she'll go, where are you? And she'll go, condos, you go, you don't need to have that kind of situation. So we're all very aware of that, but what we're finding though is that people think that they have to have a modification request for anything that they're doing, interior or exterior, and they'll go online and then they'll do the form or fill it out and then bring it to the office and put it in the, and of course, then we find out that that's not necessary. So we are aware, and I think maybe we can put it in the FYI, just that, okay. Yeah.
the management companies
That-
know.
That's where we're some of the management company managers that have been flipping around lately, don't really have a clear understanding. So we can send them an email blast that says, tell your people that X, Y, Z. So I'll work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to landscaping. Lynn, you're still on. We could do item B while you're gathering that material. You've got it. Okay, you're on.
The landscape committee field trip reviewed the community and considered improvements for 2025 on January 21st. 1, monument signs. The committee is strongly recommending replacing the green neighborhood signs with monument signs. These signs would match the Wildcat Cove, Deer Creek, and preserve ones. It would upgrade the community and provide consistency throughout Sterling Oaks. The signs to be replaced would be Manatee Tavern, Willow Bend, Sanctuary Point, and the condo coach home entrances. Additionally, the neighborhood sign at the corner of Sterling Oaks Boulevard and Sterling Oaks Drive would also match in style and color. The cost would be approximately $25,000 to $30,000 according to Mark West. Mark will bring this up at the next board of directors meeting. Number 2, condo coach
Does
home.
that mean this meeting or the next
This
one?
one,
Okay.
No,
We already did it.
just brought it up.
this is January's minutes being read at the February meeting.
Oh, because we
And
were,
then you have the February minutes.
oh, you got that, okay, you're coming to that, okay. Condo coach home areas, the new plantings along the 41 fence line are mostly thriving. Fire bush in some places has been eaten by rabbits, so they will be replaced in the spring. Once spring comes, we anticipate a leaf and growth. The islands need to have sonotubia trim, so the landscaping has a clear effect. Mike will follow up on this and see if other parts need to be refreshed. That's Mike from Landscape Company. Wildcat Cove, entrance median needs to be refreshed. Mike will work up an estimate. The second island, the queen palms are dying and will be removed. Replaced with palms consistent with the other median islands. We've also discussed how the queen palms have been affected by all the recent hurricanes and the previous white fly infestation. It is anticipated we will lose more throughout the community in the next few years. You can really see that over at Wildcat Cove. That was from the hurricane. The pool area island has suffered damage and a number of shrubs and plants have died due to the salt from the hurricane. Committee discussed matching the two sides, copper leaf shrub, and removing the red tide. Mike will provide a design for the reveal. Sanctuary Point and Song of India will be removed from the corners of the Bird of Paradise and Fire Project and Express. Reserve add 2 stop gate palms to center entrance median. Manatee, the HOA property adjacent to house number 1170 needs attention. The current plan is to remove the current design and redesign it, so there are 3 sections. Mike will provide a design for review, and we did all this at the last go round, which Mark, you're gonna pick up on. Oh, there's more. Neighborhood sign areas and corners, fix the area under the sign where the car drove over it. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's a big area where a car drove into the shrubbery. A plan will be developed so the two corners of this intersection match and the signs are consistent. Center median, the area will be reworked so it's consistent with other islands in the community. On the marsh side, plantings between the road and the sidewalk will be removed and replaced with sod. A plan will be developed in the area between the sidewalk and marsh. Pickleball court. Committee has no objection to removing the palm tree, so bleacher can be replaced by pickleball court. The committee has requested the ornamental grass between the sidewalk and roadway by the entrance to the court to be removed and replaced with grass. Committee wants to wait, however, before adding any new landscaping to the area until the new area is used so that it needs to be better understood. Old business. The Justina and the medians have been the subject of numerous complaints by homeowners. The committee agrees it needs to be replaced. Leaking bottle brush across from the clubhouse will also be replaced. The next meeting was February 18th at 9 a.m. and we had that meeting and this is submitted by Linda Moxley Chair.
So to carry on with landscaping committee part two, this is all of what she said. And the, expert, along with the committee, reviewed all of the, proposals for those replacements and, in those areas that she just talked about. Sweetwater Condo Cove Island, the Wildcat Cove Pool area in front, Wildcat Median, Wildcat Cove Monument sign, the entry island median in Wildcat, Manatee Silver Strand Common Ground, pickleball court bleacher area, nothing to do right there. We did put the bleachers in though, and we are going to, we just point them down there to see whether or not they fit, but we didn't take out any of the plants out, those were done today. Sanctuary Point, common area triangle, will be done, and the preserve, the entry island that goes into the reserve is going to be, taken care of if approved, so I think that you have a, motion, for this, it says $11,980.50, which does not include the pickleball because it's, hasn't been fully, discussed yet.
What do you mean it doesn't?
It hasn't been, the committee hasn't gotten with pickleball and said, what are you gonna wanna do here?
I see.
You know, what do you wanna do there? You want more area, less area, more shrubs, this, you want, so. And then the committee's next task will review estimates and design, for Sterling Oaks Boulevard. This will be done, they'll do that in March and then bring that back to the board. And then he will be replacing the Dracaena in the medians with Petit Exora. And those are at the ends of each median. What we wanted to try to do is start making it so that every street that you went down kind of had that same look. And so that the ends of the medians, most of them will have palm trees, and then underneath the palm trees will have, you know, the shrubbery. And we found that the Dracaena, and Dracaena is those guys that are on the blue pots out on the veranda right there. They kind of were growing up and didn't look really good, but the David Zora, which are kind of darker green and little red flowers, look a lot better, so that's what they decided. So, I think landscaping committee is asking for a motion, which is, part of this situation. A motion needs to be made to approve the estimates, the landscaping replacements, in the amount of $12,000.
Made by Linda Snyder. I need a second.
Second.
Have a second. But let me remind,
Who seconded?
Rick, let me remind the board members that landscaping was the #1 concern in our strategic plan by the residents. So with that, do we have discussion?
Yeah.
The budget for the landscaping replacements, I think, is $65,000 in year 2025. So $12,000 to go.
My question is part of the replacement landscape, which we have $65,000.
Right. Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, pickleball and pavers. John, are you taking this one?
I spoke to Suzanne. Let's start with the landscaping first. The bleachers have been placed and they're fine there. There's no need to remove a palm tree. The plants can be, the plants that are growing up through there can be removed by our folks, or you can leave them alone and they'll die. It's up to
You
you.
say we don't need to remove a palm tree?
No.
That's good. Then we won't mess with Collier County either.
Or, I think that my, ask my crew will be down there with the shovel. So.
Okay, so pickleball's going well. The old saying, if you build it, they will come. That is the case now. We're seeing a lot more residents getting involved. We are seeing a lot of tennis people experimenting with pickleball. So the numbers have increased, but with the 5 courts, we are accommodating people. There's not a long wait between matches, so there haven't been complaints. What else? The teams are playing, they're doing fine. Everything is moving along. There's nothing really of note for us, other than the fact that to finish the project, there is one area around the outside of the courts that is currently sand and pebble that we'd like to replace with pavers, much like the rest of the court is. And it's less than $10,000. And this would complete the project, everything would be paved. And if we think back a little bit, by going with the design we have now, we saved ourselves over 120,000. We saved ourselves about $120,000 by going with the design that we came up with. So I'm proposing, I can let Paul think about it, propose it. I'm proposing that we finish the paving around the outside of the courts, make it uniform throughout, and I think that would complete the project.
Very good. I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
I think it's a good idea just because it doesn't look good the way it is, and the sand and the gravel is getting onto the courts. It's gonna prematurely ruin our courts. I think it's a no-brainer.
Dangerous to that.
Yeah, I think those are good reasons.
Yesterday, we have to, lower, then, our gal, and brought it on before. I do have a concern though, the courts, I know they did some repair on the courts last week, Monday, there's still things coming on the courts. Brought forward or addressed,
Did you say paint coming off the court?
this is still.
Peeling, you mean chipping
I
away?
would say shipping, it was like. And I know there was some repairs done, I don't know if it's gonna be a conversation or not.
We know, John.
They came, part of the punch list was they came back and they repaired some of the chipping that we'd already identified. I don't know if this is from natural, normal wear and tear. I don't know if it's some flaw with the paint that they put down. I'd have to bring that to the committee and let them run with it and talk to Suzanne and Fast Drive.
Okay.
They did give us, let us repair.
Yeah, your maintenance team prepared well.
That was all on punch list. They handled that last week.
That was last week, so, but I do know that they left us some paint, correct? They did make sure it was correct, but we can.
I don't know if they missed it or it's now and new. So that we can get away with it.
Sure. Okay, let's see.
The other thing is, particularly because we have guests who come to play at our courts, the gate that gets into, court 4 and 5, there's, everybody knows, there's a differentiation between the side of the courts. We've had some people tripping there. I've done it myself. You need to have some kind of a strip that says, beware, it's painted yellow
Between 4 and 5, or between,
between the walkway
In the walkway,
going into the court.
four in the walkway.
Floor.
Which one is for?
It's the middle one of the new ones are put in. That
middle.
one is going into the walkway where the,
Right. it's
canopy
about
is.
like this, right?
It's like
little-
that. We've had another trip.
So we need to go ahead and, well, we can paint it. Bright yellow paint, like that, like at least it's, like you do.
Even if you did it right, it just gives it some color.
Yeah, something
Yellow's
like
kind of a little bit
White,
nicer,
okay.
but,
Look at it. I'll have CC, get it, I'm down there.
and is there a plan to put the second bleachers back in?
That's the plan so far, yes.
And John, you find them to be sufficient?
I find them to be sufficient.
Very good. Okay, any other discussion? We're talking now about the pavers. We have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Old business. You have old business.
Well, I guess I wanna wait for Suzanne to discuss. No,
Okay.
Mark,
The only old business that we didn't really get our arms around was when we, talked about the buying and selling of a unit within the community, and if you're going to be buying and selling, the board put forth the idea that if you were going to sell your unit and move into another unit, because you're selling the unit and you're not doing it for investment purposes, then it's that lower cost of $750. If you're going to buy a second unit or third unit, you're gonna do that for investment purposes, then you pay the full share of the incurred capital costs, whether it's coach homes or condos. However, what we're finding though is that there's you can't do it simultaneously, especially with as many things, units on the market, that there needs to be some form of a time frame that says X months, you have the opportunity to sell your unit while you're moving into the new place. As long as you don't use your old place for any form of investment purpose or rental, I think we need to give that right now. There's no time limit. You have to do it at the time that you sell.
That's not true.
And
It
if-
it was never intended for that. That's not true at all.
Well, I'm just saying there's nothing
Alright.
written,
All right,
understand.
so I just wanted to make it.
here's what we're going to do. Here's what I need from the board. This is under old business. We're not going to debate it here today, not on the agenda. Do you want it on next month's agenda? I need a consensus from the board.
Yes.
we need to have it on the agenda because
I
right
have
now,
one, two,
it reads simultaneous, which is ridiculous.
We've never,
okay. All right, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. We'll talk about it then.
We skipped my.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
it wasn't part of
It's
it.
actually not even in the package.
But you sent it later on.
We sent
that's why.
everybody.
I know, so I'm gonna read it from my phone. If I could, can I go forward? So, for fitness facilities project team update.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we had a meeting on February the 10th with Mark Suzanne, myself and Sherry, who is on the committee. Mark presented some solutions to what the committee has recommended from his experience at the recent GM conference in Tampa. So the takeaway from our meeting was for him, our previous meeting was for him to go and see if there's solutions out there that satisfy the needs of our entire community. There is a general concern amongst the committee that is taking too long to move the project forward as we have been year. I know that we had come to the agreement that we wanted to reach out to the community one more time with feeling to make sure we clearly understood what came out in the resident survey back earlier on in the year last year. So as a follow-up to that, we came with some recommendations. A few of them are closed items. One being we've revised the cleaning times one more time. More to the point where we determined that it was required scheduled cleaning every day, but it will be cleaned every day. Specifically, Mondays and Thursdays, the gym will be closed from 11:30 till 12:30 for a full clean. The remainder of the week, there will be no scheduled cleaning time. The staff will clean through the week and the restrooms regularly during open hours. Staff members are to monitor the needs of the fitness area and restrooms to ensure they maintain proper care and proper cleaning and supplies on the week. There is no cleaning on the week. So this is kind of going back to the way it was prior to COVID. So I guess to backtrack a bit, we went full steam with having a lot of clean into the facilities rather. Now we're just going to backtrack. It's just it's what as a need needs to be. Thank you. My page is there was some feedback that the club benefit, the gym specifically can benefit from some physio equipment. There's a lot of folks in the community here who had a body part, so we thought we'd bring in some equipment that could assist people who have mobility issues or who have need for rehab, and rather than maybe having to go to the physio place, they can come here and do those physio exercises. Those have been installed, as well as some signs to reinforce, please don't drop your weights and really be respectful of the environment when you're down there. We still have a number of action items outstanding, and we have a follow-up meeting with Suzanne and Mark on March the 6th. As I have some takeaways on the items, including solutions for classes, the sauna, talk a little bit about gym flooring, floor planning, the budget, and just some of the other auxiliary equipment like the rack for the free weights. There was a decision by the committee that would move forward with replacing any of the existing equipment. We just wait for it to come to term. I think it's 2026 before we can start to replace that equipment. It makes sense to put any more money out the door as most of that equipment is still in good shape.
Any questions?
I have one, we need a little bit of maintenance down there. A couple of televisions aren't working. TV's not working. In addition to that, the dual pull down rack, the knob keeps coming off the script.
You told me
What?
let me know what TV's are.
It's on the ellipticals, there's three of them, two on the right. Other than that, the equipment's working pretty well. Keep stripping.
Any other questions, comments?
Just that Suzanne and I have both been working with vendors, trying to get as much information as we can for the project team. I do have a contractor coming in on Monday to look at the downstairs to give us some ideas about that. So once I have all that, I'll be ready for it.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Let's move to new business. Multi-purpose room usage, Ken Smaller.
It's come to my attention, I'm getting a lot of comments from card players, bridge players, business cards, and the people who use the multi-purpose room for the art exhibition. Where are they going to go if we decrease the size of that room? I know I play poker on Thursday afternoons down there, and we have 3 tables of canasta going, plus a table poker going. So there's 4 tables being utilized currently.
houses in Seaver. But I'm not sure how we're going to accommodate all that. On most Thursdays, they're setting up for some type of event up here. So consequently, we have to go to the multi-purpose room. I'm not sure, you know, I know on Mondays, there's Mexican train. I know on Fridays, there's Bridge and Mahjong. I know that the room gets fairly full at that time, and that there's some type of event being set up for it. There's no place for these people to play. I don't know how we can address it, and I don't know where we can accommodate these people during the season. I don't know that we have a problem off season, but I'm not here, so. And I haven't heard of a lot of comments on off season.
We have other concerns by other board members. I suggest we continue the discussion in the form of a motion.
Not sure what the motion is, Paul, because it's, how do we accommodate all the card players and people who want to use our facilities for other purposes?
You know, for a fact that it actually isn't enough space, there's 4 tables, there's lots of tables down there, 4 tables. We need to be.
Until we know how much room is going to be taken, we don't know how much room is going to be taken.
Well, no, I would argue, tell me how much space we need, so that we make sure that we don't shrink it. So maybe we need.
Well, and I'm not sure, you know, I know when art uses, but they use almost the entire room.
I know that for a fact because somebody in our committee is on it. I think we need to do studies to understand, because anytime that we've seen people in there, it's not a full. I agree, we have to make sure that we accommodate them.
All right, now we're moving toward a motion. We're getting close.
Well, Lucy, are you talking about expansion into the multi-purpose room? Because last month at the board meeting, you called me out because you said I was giving wrong information. When I spoke to the people down there, when we had about 40 people playing cards and mahjong and having art class, and you actually brought that up, that I was completely on the wrong page. But apparently I was on the right page.
Then you said that we were going to squeeze you guys out of the program.
That's right.
And we're not.
We had 40 people there last, that would squeeze us out. Look, here's what I don't get, and it's not emotional. The multi-purpose room is for multi-people and purposes, especially card players who apparently nobody gives a damn about. And you have a designated room. You have a designated fitness room. You fitness people have a designated, you mean I can sit there and play cards? You want?
It's not mine, it's not mine personally.
I'm talking as a representative of the fitness group, you, meaning plural, have a designated fitness center. The bocce has designated bocce court. The pickleball has pickleball courts. The pool has pool people. Multi-purpose takes care of the rest of the community who also pay their bills here too. And the rest of the people seem to be a lot of older people and a lot of women. So, not saying that I find that particularly offensive, but I do. I really do. I really feel that you try to rob Peter to pay Paul so that you can have more and we can just settle for less. I go by that fitness room many times on my way to the multi-purpose room, and that's also empty. Does that mean we should carve into that and use it more for multi-purpose? It's very, very selfish. That's what I think. And so, and I also do resent being called out for something that I now find is exactly what you did have.
No. Yeah. I was very specific to say, the goal is not to accommodate people that use the multi-purpose room today. I did say that.
And I said that I didn't want us them to lose any of the
And that is not the
multi-purpose space.
intention. That is not the intention.
Well,
And third, wait, please. We are responding to the feedback that we got from the community. This is not my agenda. The community wanted more space. But the end goal is to make sure that we accommodate the community as a whole. So I'm sorry that you're offended, but
Oh, I
that's
know.
not the intention.
I am, and the activity committee is vehemently opposed to this. And they have asked a letter to be read at the appropriate board meeting, which I guess would be the next.
Okay, I'm going to John. And then I'm going to encourage the board to move this again toward a motion so that the board can deal with it in a business-like fashion. And perhaps we deal with it at the next board meeting. John,
Taking a broader approach here, let's go back about 5 minutes when Lucy said, maybe we can study, we can propose a motion, we can study the numbers. I'm hearing about this many. I'm talking about this many, about this many. How about if you tell me how many about is? When you say about 40. I'd have to see that.
On a given day.
On a given day, I'd have to see that. The gym, in the weight room, in the off season, my friend Tommy's the only guy in there all summer. And he's one of the main proponents of this. So it would benefit us in our conversations to have those numbers. Because what we're talking about and what we're really getting at here is just during the season. The numbers are expanded so much more during the season. The other 9 months of the year, they're both empty.
That's right. As is everything else.
So we can't get ourselves all wound up about 3 months of the year. We have to figure out a way to,
Well,
Here's the numbers.
Was when broadcast contractors coming in to give figures about taking some of the multi-purpose rooms. To me, that's pretty damn concrete.
no, he's just moving
Why
ahead
didn't you
with
get
the idea.
this on- take
This
it
has to
on
do-
Hibachi for? No, but you know what I'm saying? It is a specific thing that this contractor is coming in for.
Sure, he's coming in to get an idea of what it would cost to do what the committee's proposing. However, this hasn't been approved,
I know.
and it may not be. It would be better for all of us who aren't familiar with the idea or the situation. It would be better for all of us to have the numbers. Well, what are we talking about? Are we talking about 30 days of the year? Are we talking 3 months of the year? Are we talking about 40 people? Are we talking 5 people? There's too many questions.
So when we tried to find out why there were just limited days for chat sessions, we all had to schedule within a certain number of days. We were told the multi-purpose room was being used on all those other days. How many days did we have? 7 days?
Okay.
The month?
We know it's being used. The question is, how much space is required? That's all we need to understand. So that we, what's so unreasonable then, you know, why are you?
Because, why aren't you looking at other spaces?
Because there are no other spaces. We've gone through a project over a year, and every month I provide all of the updates to the board with the information. The last board meeting, I came with what the proposed solutions were. And the takeaway for us was to go and get some numbers, and that's exactly what we're doing with Mark and Suzanne's help. So nothing's been decided. Okay, so you were privy to what, and so was the community, they listened to them in. Guys, this is a follow through from what the residents say, no different than what Paul said. You know, the number one issue is landscaping. Well, probably the number two issue was the size of the fitness area in the space. So we're just addressing what the whole community has asked for, but there is no intention to take away from what the other resident, what the multi-purpose room is used for today. Please understand that we're not trying to take something away. And
If you take part of the room, you are taking part of the room away.
you're correct. We are.
That's what
But
I'm
we're not
objecting
taking
to.
anything away from the people who use it if we provide them enough
Because we're
space.
crowded when we all have to go down there. We're already crowded. We're playing bridge with our minds being scrambled. They're playing dominoes and they're playing mahjong and there's art classes. And the ping pong players go in there and play. I mean, there are things that go
So
on
maybe
there.
we need to
There are
schedule the time
challenges.
that the, maybe we're going to get a schedule and they, sign up for when you're going to use the room.
But you
All
cannot
right,
do that.
let me interrupt here. I need,
When they close the dining room, that's when they tell us we can't be here, if something's going on, we all have to go downstairs.
Well, maybe there needs to be better communication. The dining room isn't open for cards and on these days, and then you need to book the room downstairs. Not just you,
That's
but
not me.
Well, there are-
all right, let me do this. I need some advice from board members. Where do we go from here? You've got a gist of what the concern is. Give me some help. What do we do next?
I'll make a motion that we commission Mark for the month of March, to give us a tally of the times and the number of people using the fitness center and the times and number of people using the multipurpose room. And then, as a board in April, we'll pick this up again. So do you want me to table this till April, or do you want me to make a motion and we commission Mark to do it?
we don't need to tally the numbers of people who use the fitness facility, because we already know that, and we already know what the feedback is. The question is, what's the amount of space that's required for the multi-purpose room? And if that furniture is too big, then we need to replace the furniture to make it less, crowded, perhaps.
Do you want to change your motion?
No, I think it's,
Then I need a second.
I like square footage on that room.
Let's finish with the motion. I need
I
a
second.
second. Okay, we have a second. All in favor of John's motion? Do we need to talk about it?
Just to clarify, I will do my best, but I can't. I gotta figure out how do you want that? 4:15, 4:30, or do you want it to be generalized?
hourly, send Laura down, on the hour, between hours,
Look on
say
the cameras.
6. Or you can use the camera, you can do it that way.
Okay, just wanted, we'll take. a
You
look.
you decide.
That's fine. Okay.
One other question though, is there's no other way into the multi-purpose room except through the fitness center.
We're trying to address that part of the-
I realize that, because right now, the numbers that you have for the fitness center are inflated by the number of people going into the multi-purpose center.
The reason I'm saying we don't need to know that you can count them, that's fine. The reason I'm saying that is because it came out in the survey already. And what percentage of the population says there's not enough space. Counting it isn't gonna change that there is a need to have more sufficient. That's my suggestion, that's my thought. Yeah, I agree.
No, I want one last. I've been dealing with this for as long as I worked here. And, going back in time when Alan worked here as the maintenance supervisor, I was downstairs with him and I go, what's this room here? He goes, that's my closet that I had to build in order to stash the stuff that needed to be put in there. I said, well, what's in there? He goes, tables, chairs, stuff, boxes, other items. And so inside, so if you're in the multipurpose room, there's half the multipurpose room on that end, the western side, is a closet. So half of that room was taken up specifically for storage space. Having that storage space either reconfigured to somewhere else on property or do something to be able to do it would allow the multipurpose room to double in size immediately. So maybe some of that could be done. Now, the problem with that is that we have here is where do we go and where do we put stuff? But I think that, at some point in time, the community at some point in time is gonna have to undertake some kind of a plan to make some changes in its footprint somehow, and take care of some of these needed items, whether, the need for fitness is not gonna go away, the need for activities, for our community, is not gonna go away. I think that, and we all have to live in harmony here. It, just something
Well,
we're
an
gonna live with.
expansion like that's not going to happen between now and the next board meeting.
And this is very true.
So let's look into what you had to say here as a contribution at the next meeting. We still have John's motion on the table. So let's stick to that.
We did ask if we could go into that, storage room, and that was a no. We did ask to go into the clean space that's, next to between the men's washroom and the gym. And the size and magnitude of that move of all of the machines, the washing machines and all of the storage in there could basically run this place when it's, in full motion. So we have explored, other spots to Lydia's question. This is maybe just an interim solution until we get to a longer term plan.
Further discussion on John's motion.
And John's motion, one thing I totally disagree with him, that we can't do everything for 3 months. Everything we do here is for 3-4 months, so that's just life in here, because everything we do, we wouldn't have added to the pool, we wouldn't have done anything, but just for 3-4 months, so that's life here, and whether it's pickleball, bocce, anything it is, so that's life. And then I would, that's for his motion, that's fine, but I also think that we should look at moving that supply. I don't know why we couldn't build them somewhere else. I mean, that would be the simplest, I think, and maybe not simple, I understand, but I know it's not part of this, but.
Would you amend your motion to include that concept?
I think we are looking at that concept with the fitness project.
So I can withdraw my motion. You can come up with a more inclusive one.
Well, I don't want to come back here and then delay it again. We've been here for a year talking about this, and people are getting very frustrated. We spent a lot of time talking about the same thing. So if it's gonna come down to, here, let's figure out how many dollars there you need. I don't think the month plan is required. I think to get a good feed, over a good Monday to Friday over a 2 period, we could,
How about if I do it through the month of March and I bring it to the board meeting? I'm playing it.
But also, I mean, how could we even talk about doing anything till we have cost? Yeah, I don't wanna get the fitness center another 30 feet or 20 feet and it costs us $500,000 for nothing.
At the same time that we're getting somebody to say what it costs to do something with the walls and with the space downstairs, we're still doing our downstairs.
I'll agree with that.
No decision will be made until all of the information is correct.
So if you can ask for cost for that, why can't the activities committee come back and ask for a cost for that, storage unit to be built someplace on the property so that everything can be stored there? I'd like to see how much that would cost. So that would solve both of our problems. You would have some adjacent room there in the,
I think at the March 6th meeting with the fitness center, I have some ideas that I would like to present to the fitness committee, which kind of encompasses a lot of this. We just haven't gotten to that stage yet. I understand, like, we see the need for the multi-purpose room space and we don't want to get away with it. And we make sure we have it for chat sessions and everything else. But, Mark and I just kind of got re-involved in the fitness project team within the last few weeks. So now that we're re-involved, we can gather ideas from our end of what space we need and where we might be able to move things. So I don't think, I definitely don't want to bring an idea to the fitness project team or the board that I'm gonna hear negatively on the different sides. So just bear with us. I don't think we're there yet to rob Peter to pay Paul.
I'm not against fitness, I'm on the
Yeah.
fitness, I'm just
Well,
not.
we understand, but from our point too, I see the need for the fitness expansion, but I also see the need for the card playing, so just bear with us.
And I gotta
Gather
tell you,
some
there's a lot of older people, there's a lot of women.
Well, let's
And I
not go
think
there.
that is not setting really well with them.
Wendy, let's not go there, please.
We need a motion.
But we also,
We're gonna give you our office and we'll build it on the third floor,
I'll take it.
well, we have to move on because she said it's been a year, so why, I mean, why all of a sudden you guys getting re-engaged or why were you engaged before? We have to get rolling on, that's all I'm saying. Okay, good. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm just saying, like, it's-
I am here and I'm.
Are
working
you
on it.
okay with her proposition?
Well, obviously, there's been some discussions between Mark and Suzanne that we're not aware of, so this is just coming on the table now, so we're waiting until March the sixth, which is next week, and we'll agree to that. And we'll,
I think we're just finishing up pickleball,
Okay.
and now we're getting the
well, I
pickleball.
think that's the other discussion, you know, we took on too much, I think, and that's why the fitness hasn't been done, because Suzanne did want a baby. So there's something, I know we're trying to be. No, I know, that wasn't disrespectful, right? We're asking her to manage stuff for two things, and it was, I think it was unrealistic, so we're trying to be patient, but I think we need to just move along. That was.
No, I know, but it was, I still can't believe I had a baby, so I'm thinking.
Sorry. So I really think we have to be careful when we're committing as a board to some of these activities.
Well, Lucy's making a good point here. We spent a boatload of money this year. Once again, between the irrigation project and the pickleball and all the $10,000 and $20,000 things we spent money on. So that's why it's kind of got pushed back.
When we put together, when I come together in front, when I come to in front of the fitness committee, I wanna make sure I am offering them the best of the best and with the most information that I have. And, Mark gathered a lot of great information from his event last month, so we're there, but nothing's gonna happen.
Okay, that's fine. Let me remind you to take into consideration Lydia's concern
Of
also.
course.
So when you come back next month, we'll have a crisp and clear motion to do something. Okay? Let's move.
Are we making the motion?
I withdrew the.
John withdrew the motion,
I'll still have the numbers for you.
Yeah.
so we'll look forward to next month. So Ken Swallen again, YouTube meetings.
So we got fishing and movies.
Well, you can do YouTube now and then we'll do fishing.
It came to my attention last month, and I got 3 phone calls from people who wanted to watch the meeting on YouTube. I thought it was done, I didn't pay any attention, but that's my fault. But I think we ought to have I will make a motion that we, in the future, put all meetings of the board on YouTube. So that the community can review what happened at the board meeting and go forward from there.
I need a second for that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Mark,
We are on YouTube right now. We have if you Google meeting cameras, we have an owl, and that is right now, the top item that they recommend. If we have a storm and Blue Stream is out and we don't have internet, if something happens and we can't, we will do everything within our power to have these recorded unless it is out of our control. But don't just we'll let you know that if you want to cancel the meeting at the time in order to get it on YouTube, that's your prerogative, but just let you know that we'll do everything we can to have it on YouTube for the community to review as much as we can, barring unforeseen circumstances out of our control. Is that okay?
So is it, YouTube or?
I think our concern was, we don't wanna be nailed to the wall over a motion of this such. If something goes out, you guys would need to then cancel your meeting, so I think we just need to put it somewhere up to the best of our ability. you know, under the given circumstances.
No, I understand that, but it could be, in my opinion, it doesn't have to necessarily be YouTube, it could just be a voice recording as well. I don't know if that's to be a visual, if that, you're looking for a.
There's no reason why we shouldn't be on YouTube every time, unless there's an unforeseen problem. That's the most, yeah, I mean, it's, but it wasn't the case before. And now it is, so that's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all.
So what, read the motion?
That all board meetings to be on YouTube when,
Place all meetings of the board of directors on the Sterling Oaks Community YouTube channel, unless, like, I'm trying to word it, unless it's unforeseen.
Okay, that part was not part of
Or
your,
that wasn't. part
are
of
you
it.
okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm okay.
Okay, so that becomes the
Because
motion.
there are technical things.
And we do have a second for that motion?
Yeah.
Yes, John. Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we can do fishing.
Well, it's brought to my attention by one of our, residents that, they think that we should be able to fish our ponds. Periodically, you'll see people out there fishing every once in a while, kids, visitors, things like that. And Mark, took the lead and got us some information, especially from our insurer, that this might have a bad effect, on our insurance premiums. Mainly because a lot of our ponds are surrounded by rocks. And, most of our ponds are surrounded by rocks. And this might cause our insurance premiums to go up. So I did want to bring this to the board's attention. It was brought to my attention, which is my responsibility to bring it before you folks. Do we have any thoughts on this?
I can tell you, I went out to the community at large out there, let's just say Worthington, Highland Woods, Stonebridge, the other golf course communities, because Sterling Oaks is, we're the only little hybrid sort of bundled community that has tennis only. The rest of these, most of these, all these other communities have golf. What I found out was that there was no fishing at all in any of the lakes that have anything to do with the golf course or any of their maintained areas, but they were allowed in some of the communities to fish outside of that area in non-maintained lakes that were adjacent to the community. That they don't, but I asked if they were maintained, and they said, no, we don't maintain those, we're not maintaining the shoreline. The community here, when I first arrived, I mean, I'm a fisherman. That's what I grew up doing, and I do it today. If you saw my garage, you kind of think I was a little crazy, but I know that there's great bass in these lakes, and it's a wonderful fishing area, and it was way back in the day. However, we found out that because it's an attractive nuisance, it's like a pool that has no fence around. And it invites problems from a risk standpoint in the insurance world. And of course, real estate and risk, then that's what they all look at, property and liability risk, and what you can do to mitigate that risk. So when I came on board here, of course, you've seen all the signs around the preserved lakes that say no fishing, no recreational use. That's simply because of that attractive nuisance, and they want to minimize the risk. I see people fishing out there, I worry a little. We have aerators in all the ponds, we have fountains in all the ponds, we have lines that go back and forth, electrical lines, air hoses, etc. As long as they're, keeping their lures and their hooks off of those lines, and they don't, damage anything. What I don't see, I have not, said anything about. However, I think it's something that, God forbid, if anything happened and the litigious nature of today's world says you can sue anybody for anything at any time, then they would say, were you utilizing it? Well, the board said it was okay to go and fish, and my son or whatever slipped, fell, hurt himself, broke his arm, he's in the hospital, I don't even know. We're gonna see if we can get damages from the community, simply because it's easier to do that than go against my own insurance. So I just thought that, you know, as a kind of the keeper of the insurance world here, I wanna keep our due as far as they can down, and I wanna keep your insurance premiums down as far as I can get them to. And by doing that, I kinda try to make sure everything is as less risk as possible.
Let's put a motion on the table and then we'll continue with discussion. John, do you want to make a motion?
No, I did my due diligence.
Okay, I need a motion from someone.
I make a motion that we keep our current policy of no fishing in our pond.
I need a second. Okay, now we can continue discussion.
We have our
Steve?
lawyers looking at this. Fine. The legal one is this thing,
I didn't send it to legal only because it's more of an
or
insurance.
the insurance carrier, they're the one that recommends.
Right,
keeping it.
right.
Yeah, I don't think legal says anything except for,
They'll-
there's nothing in our specific bylaws other than that the preserved lakes are managed and are exactly what they are. They're not a recreational body of water. They're part of the Southwest Florida Water Management District stormwater, you know, retention and flowway. So they're under the auspices of the South Florida Water Management District and not really, you know, designated as a recreational.
Steve, Mark,
I think the insurance that Mark brings up is a good point, but I think there's also several others. The health of the pond, we stocked the pond with the fish for the health of the pond, not that
Right.
people can fish them out and eat them.
right,
And on top of it, some of those lanais are real close to the water. I don't want someone standing out of my lanai, casting right in front of my lanai and talking and interrupting my dinner. So there's lots of good reasons not to do it. And,
Yeah.
the ponds are for aesthetics, not for sport. And fishing is a sport. If you can do that, you might as well have boats go on it too. And just make it an open lake. So I'm totally against it. I think it's a crazy idea and anybody that I know isn't for it. Except for a couple of people who want to fish, right next to the sign that says no fish.
Have we had any inquiries or about this?
Perennially,
Yeah.
you will.
One time a year,
One, yeah.
in the season.
Each and every year you'll have.
One person, 20 people, 100 people? One person.
My neighbor who went to the kids and said there's no fishing here, got in an argument with the kids. And the kids came back later that night and did damage to their house, rang their doorbell and tortured them.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, Mark, I told Mark about it.
Yeah.
So I say leave it alone,
Any other discussion?
leave our fish alone.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion, any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Chat session schedule. In your packet, you'll see March 4th, March 6th, 2 on March 6th, March 7th, and March 11th. So we have, chat sessions scheduled. Communications committee, as always, will assist. They're a critical part of this process. I guess I don't have this in your packet, but I'll make this available to you. There are some talking points. I'll go through them with you quickly. Have you received the talking points that I'm suggesting? All right, let me mention to you what these talking points might be to arm you as you sit in your respective sessions. There are talking points about the baseline for the irrigation schedule. There'll be basic talking points about the irrigation project in general. Give you the total cost, detailed information like that. We'll have a section on RFID for gate access, how and why, how they work, that sort of thing. We'll talk a little bit about bocce pergolas, how much they cost, so more often than not, people in the sessions will ask you, what did we pay for this? How did we come to end up with this project? This information will be part of that. There'll be some information about tennis. John will provide some information on the financials of tennis. Because one thing we don't want, oftentimes there are a couple board meetings or sometimes several in the same chat session. And we don't need arguments between or among board members during those sessions. So we'll get our facts straight and we'll have that as part of the talking points. Surveys, we'll have some breakdown on information on the surveys, kind of a summation of what it said. That may come up at a session. Pickleball, I'm sure you'll get questions on how much did that pickleball project cost? And what did we do specifically there? And so we'll have some information about that, so you're not caught off guard. You'll have the detailed information in front of you. And capital contribution. How did we come about to pass the capital contribution? How much is it? And where do we stand in comparison to other HOAs in the area? So that information will be spelled out for you. And as I mentioned earlier, John will have information on
Come up with that.
the tennis program. In terms of how much are we making, what's our operating cost, are we making the budget there, how much goes into reserves, where do we stand, is the community subsidizing tennis or is it not? Those kinds of questions come up almost always. And if you have anything else that you feel you need as part of these talking points, let us know and we'll supply that information for you.
With the tennis, the same thing we came up with, I think, a couple board meetings ago that showed right now for the last 10 years going
Yes.
forward.
Yeah.
And we'll also have that for the annual board meeting, so everybody could see, and then,
That'd be great.
but it's still getting arguments or, this or that, and
Right.
half of what you hear is not true. So
Right,
We'll
right.
come up with the.
And what better way to clear this up than in a chat session?
Well, I have two items, that I'd suggest universally across the chat sessions. One would be, and this is brought up every 5 or 6 years, what would be the feeling of our community for a food and beverage minimum? That's been brought up every 5 years. So. And the second would be, how would they feel about a kitchen expansion? Expanding our kitchen somehow. And I think I already talked to Nicole about coming up with some ideas for us, but what's the community feel about that? Do they feel that our kitchen is sufficient? Do they feel that the service is sufficient? The cost of whatever? I mean, you're gonna get into a lot of the discussion about a kitchen expansion. Those two items.
Good. Good. So we'll include that on the list, if something you want to ask your constituency, that'd be fine. Anything else? You feel armed with enough information? Okay, very good. I want to remind you, we're going into executive session back in that room directly after item D. But item B, annual meeting of members, March 20th at 1 p.m. Keep in mind, we will ask you and your respective committee or liaisonship to present a brief report on what you did this year, what's transpired, what progress have you made, what you do this year. Like Elon Musk asking everyone, what'd you do? It's like a couple of weeks. So, so have that ready for the annual meeting and we get to discuss the exact format of that. If you have any burning ideas that you think we should do for the annual meeting that steps out of our tradition, let me know. And of course, the organization meeting will follow directly after the annual meeting. And then board certification on March 24th, 9:30 a.m. So with that, unless there's any need for discussion, we will move into that back room for an executive session to talk about some legal matters and personnel matters.
Is the board meeting over, or will you be coming out here to extend the meeting?
Yeah,
We could adjourn out here, but it won't, essentially the meeting will be over for the public.
Yeah.
Yeah,